Hello guys and welcome back to TNT Madness. Today we are going to be looking at a hammer. And essentially what a hammer is it is a giant collection of TNT that goes into one specific point, and then you can use that to push it out into your main cannon chamber bit, whatever you want to call it, and then you can have that about 1 or 2 blocks above your actual compressed sand, or just your one piece of sand or your TNT. And then you can fire both those out at the same time, and then when it hits the wall or whatever surface you're hitting, it can then fire off all that TNT and it'll push down your sand or TNT or whatever it is from 200 blocks down to 0, or whatever position you want. And what this allows us to do is it allows us to slab bust extremely large amounts of slabs, and allows us to sand stack, which is the biggest mechanic in TNT mechanics anyway. Not they explain that well. But what I mean by this is, for example, this is an 80 stack hammer. You have got roughly 96 dispensers here, and that can allow us to fire off over 80 sand. So what this means is that since we are pushing down over 80 sand in less than a tick, it allows us to stack all that sand, because Minecraft will register one sand being down at the bottom, but since it can't register it being less than a tick, going from like 200 blocks to 0, you can actually theoretically stack 200 sand from there and there, or specifically with this one, 80. So that is really strong, because it allows us to stack 80 sand in one tick, and this allows us to make crazy cannons like one-shots and all sorts. But for example, this one just allows us to create our 80 stacker thing. And this one, the reason I'm making this is because I see a lot of hammers that are absolutely massive, and I just want to make something that was really compact and resource friendly. I'm sure if you have a look at this thing, it'll be a hell of a lot more compact than any other hammers that you'll ever see. So anyway, let's take a look at this thing in action. So with a hammer, generally you will have two inputs. You'll have one that can fire off your main compressor bit, or the bit that pushes all the TNT into one spot. For anyone that's built a TNT cannon or a compressed cannon or something like this should be very familiar, as it can just push the TNT all into one spot if you need this for propellant. Next one is you need to activate this so it can activate all this TNT. So it activates after this, but it activates before the rest of your other TNT fires off. So let's say you have TNT that's down here in the main part of your cannon, and you need this to fire off before that so it can actually push all the TNT down, so you can slab bust or sand stack or do whatever you need to do there. So that is very important. So for this, I've just made a bit out of quartz to do two inputs. One that is made this one's go off straight away, and then this one that goes off 16 ticks later. So if we press the button, TNT gets pushed off here, TNT then dispenses here, and then TNT gets pushed into here, and then it explodes instantly on here. But what you will do is you'll have some sort of piston set up, so that way you can push all the TNT out of it, and that way the very tick that the propellant is going to explode, this will push it out, and then it will push it all the way down into the wall. I have the same sort of setup in my Lean Ad Archer cannon, but I do not have anywhere near as big of a hammer because I don't need it, because I'm only stacking like 5 sand. But this thing is much bigger, and this will work in both 1.7 and 1.8, but depending on how you build the rest of the cannon, you will need to either build it in 1.7 or 1.8, and it is much more consistent in 1.7. And if you're playing on a server that has 1.7 mechanics, like let's say my server, then I would just stick with that anyway. So the final thing is the redstone before we get onto the tutorial, and this is very simple. So to start with, we just have our main 5 redstone on top of here. This activates all these 6 dispensers and is really compact, and it just allows us to make a really efficient and cheap way of doing that. Also, if we quickly remove this, we can then see that we have ladders, and the only reason for this is that way the TNT cannot escape, because this means it's 0.9 blocks wide here, so there's no way the TNT here can get through, and that's why other people use ladders, because TNT is 0.98 blocks thick. And also, you can put water inside this hammer. I personally don't like doing that because it takes up a hell of a lot of space, but 90% of people do it because that way if something does go wrong, then it prevents it from going wrong, because TNT does not explode in water. The only issue I have with it is that it can cause a huge mess and it just takes forever to clean up. And if you are trying to make something very, very precise, especially in 1.8, TNT can be affected by water, and that is not fun at all. So anyway, that's that. And after we have that, we have then got this quartz bit, but this bit doesn't matter at all, so I'm going to remove this. The main bit that matters now is on this part here. We have got our free redstone, and then this is inverted. The reason this is inverted is because you don't want this to be on. We have 2 inverted torches, so it is treated as the input is off. So this is off, and that means all these dispensers are off. You can technically make this one wider and use repeaters, but I personally don't like using repeaters as it is much more expensive, because for this you just have to use some redstone torches, and redstone works really well. So what we have here is we just have a very simple staircasing slab. We've got one that goes down the bottom that goes along all the torches, and then it just staircases up, and that way it can connect to all of this redstone. If this was much bigger, I would probably either take an input that's in the middle, let's say here, or I would add some sort of repeater system. But since this one is only for stacking 80 sand, that's not really an issue at all. Also, this thing is essentially mirrored on the other side, so what's on this side, on this half here, it is just inverted and put on this side. So this thing is really simple to build, and it's very compact. So anyway, let's get on with the tutorial. Now on to the tutorial. So what you're going to need is a 7x9 area, but it's not technically the case, as we've got glass blocks that represent where there are free spaces. So what that means is there will be no blocks placed there, so if you need the extra space for some reason, you can have it. The gold bit just represents the chamber of the actual cannon, and this glass bit here is just an extra bit in case you want to protect your TNT from going off the side. It is highly recommended that you have this. I'm just building this earlier to give you a representation, and also this will be the highest point that you actually need to build. Of course, you will have redstone actually 1 block above that, but this is just a representation. So what you're going to need anyway is some building blocks, some slabs. I would recommend glass just so it looks cooler, so you can see through your actual chamber or see into where the TNT has been dispensed. You're going to need 102 dispensers, 70 redstone, 50 redstone torches, a water source block, and at least 2 ladders. So the first thing you're going to do is place your 2 dispensers in a pattern like this. Then you want to place 2 blocks on the back like so, and place redstone on top of all of them. And then after that you want to go ahead and place 2 blocks on either side. You can place glass on the other side, but you want to place ladders on one side like so. Then after that you want to place water here, and you are good to go. The next thing you want to do is make a 6x8 area of dispensers on each side. So this will create your massive 100, and will create 96 dispensers in total. And the calculation for TNT, to calculate how much sand you need for TNT, so what I mean by that is for 1 sand you need a certain amount of TNT to stack it, and the equation for that is your sand times 1.51. so it has a 1 on the end. You cannot round it to 0.15 or else you will have not enough dispensers, and this just comes round to about 92, but I just have 96 as to make it much more even number, and so that way it will work every time. So all you want to do now is stack all these up by 8 blocks, and you'll be good to go. So once you have done that, you can either put up a stack of blocks and put ladders on the side so the TNT can't go out the side, or you can just fill it up with glass or normal blocks. It really doesn't matter. It's just so the TNT doesn't go flying out the side and land in this water, because that means you will not be utilizing all your TNT and you'll just be wasting it. So anyway, after this we want to place 3 blocks along the top here, and then we want to place redstone on top of this, and then we are just going to be mirroring this on one side. So for example, if I place a redstone torch on that side, it will go on this side. So I only need to make one side here. So what you want to do next is place out a block along here and place a piece of redstone on top. Then you want to place a block down here, and then after that we are going to start by making our slab staircase. It doesn't really matter how you make it. I am really bad at making slab staircases, but what you want to do is make it so it can go up like this, and you want to have your top block being up here, and then you want to have it going out the side like so. After you've done this, you can then place redstone on top of it, and you can get rid of these blocks, but you can keep these middle ones. So next what you want to do is go along these blocks and extend it out so it is 6 wide, and you want to make sure that these are full blocks so you can actually place your redstone and redstone torches on it. So after you've done that, you then want to place redstone on each of these blocks, and at this point you want to make sure that there are no TNT in your dispensers, or at least water at the bottom, so that way when they do activate, because the torches will have to flick off, that they do not activate. So now what I mean by that is when you place a redstone torch here, it will flick on quickly, which means it will not activate. So what you want to do now is place redstone torches in front of all of these dispensers, and if you're wondering why they're placed two above, it's because these redstone torches will actually power these dispensers down here. It has been in this game for absolutely ages, and it works, and it has the same principle for pistons. I still don't exactly understand how the mechanics work, but I do understand that it's there. So now that you have done this, all you have to do now is put this on the other side, and you are pretty much done. So now I've mirrored the exact same thing on the other side, and as you can see, this will work completely fine. So the only thing you have to do now is go down to this bottom bit here and break that block, and this is where you are going to have your TNT go down. So what you want to do is you can have your piston placed here, and then that can push it out, and your main cannon may be along here. So this is great because that means you can just quickly add it onto your cannon. You can have this one along one more over, but I just like to have it here, as the TNT doesn't have to be more powerful than this, because if you had it one more longer, then this would have to be one higher. So the great thing about this is you don't have to worry about that, and you can just add this straight to your cannon. So anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you do like these sorts of TNT Cannon videos, then please let me know by liking and leaving a comment of what you'd like to see. If you have any ideas for cannons I should do or things I should do, I love feedback, good, bad, and different. It's great. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. And also, if you're wondering why I sound a little bit different, it's because I got my Blue Yeti. I still have my extremely annoying fan, so I may sound slightly louder than usual, and I will still have that super irritating background noise, but I'm working on getting my new computer sorted. My R9 290 graphics card actually crapped out on me, so I ordered a GTX 970, which will be arriving soon, and after I get that, I will then sort out my computer and get it hopefully working, and hopefully I won't have such a loud fan noise. But anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, like, and anyway, goodbye from TNT Mad.